Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EG.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics and Rap. Your host, thank you so kindly for being part of the show. We are going to have a great show for you today. But before we get started, like I said, we're not going to allow distractions from keeping our eyes off of the ball. So before I get started, before I introduce anybody, I want to remind you that the power is still in your hands. These policies have not yet been changed. Therefore, it is imperative that you don't only call your congressperson, your senator, etc. on the phone, by fax, by email. It is more than that you have to do. Call your radio stations, call into your stations, call into my program so people can hear you on air. Talk about this bill is going to harm your family. This bill is going to close your hospitals in the rural areas. The big, beautiful bill is nothing more than the big, ugly bill that will terrorize Americans. So please, they want to vote on this catastrophe this week in the Senate. After it is voted on in the Senate, it has to go to the House for reconciliation, which means we're not reconciliation for where they put it all together and they merge the Senate version with the House version, and then the House has to vote on it again, and the Senate has to vote on it again. We have 3 more cracks. You have to do your work. You have to uprise and let them know how much you do not want this bill. This is a clear and present danger. The last time we were in this position, the Honorable Senator McCain saved the day when he went on the Senate floor and did this. Almost Donald Trump wanted to castrate him then. We need four senators to do just that. We need 4 senators to do just that. E2247 has the number on what needs to be the list of numbers to be called. But again, I repeat, for those of you just entering the fold, it's on us. Many say they are going to do what they want to do. But if you start calling them, but not only them, you have to call radio stations, you have to call TV stations, you have to send emails to the radio stations, TV stations, you have to hit every domain, because this is the life of your relatives, your family, and your friends, especially your relatives and friends in rural areas, folks. This is no joke. This is real, and you can actually take care of this. This is a transfer of wealth, big time. I didn't get a chance to present this particular video, but there's a video I'll likely have tomorrow. The top 10% will get $7,200 on average in tax cuts. The others will have on average a $2,000 cost. And that is before we take into account all the costs that the insurance companies are going to tag on because of the Medicaid destruction. So folks, this is on you. You can decide to believe the lies that the Republicans are telling you over the next few days. You can decide to believe the lies, or you can take matters into your own hands. It is on you. And I mean that sincerely. I mean that respectfully. I mean that in every fashion possible. This is on you. It is on you, folks. It is on you. You've got to get it done. Anyway, welcome aboard. Welcome aboard. Let's see what we got here. We got, on our Substack, Willis, we've got Kay, J. Farewell, Camille, and Broker. Sue says, I don't think we're going to get another chance to turn this around. We got to do it. We got 3 cracks, though, Suze. One is the Senate vote this week. The second one is the House vote that has to come when they reconciliate these 2 bills. And the third is going to be when the Senate has to vote on it again. Skip Diger, welcome aboard. Adam W. says, the Republican Party and the uber rich are murderers, plain and simple. I agree 100%. Welcome aboard AVQ. We also have in-house from Brooklyn, New York, Paul Fleming from Atlanta, Georgia, Jacqueline Campisi from Katy, Texas, a teacher. Thank you for the work that you do. Jay Ray, who was the co-host on Politics Done Right this morning, who did a very good job co-hosting. Check out the podcast that we have on Substack, where you can actually see our brother in action. We also have E2247 in the house. Lita Bearcat from Austin, Texas. Michael Rutnan from Brooklyn, New York. And Mike Cisak from Missouri somewhere. Lee Grant from Montgomery County. All right, let's get busy. Michael has something for me to read. Egberto, I've been trying to figure out what the Supreme Court is doing with mass deportation to third-party countries. Can the Trump regime send Latinos to Africa? Yes, they can. That's what the Supreme Court says. The Supreme Court is that is completely illegal. That is saying you can actually deport what you consider less than to some country that you're willing to pay off to accept them. Get them out of here and throw them to a country they don't belong to. This is the instantiation of evil. It is evil. Yes, it is evil. Jay Ray, welcome aboard from Houston. All right, let's see. Paul Fleming says, Democrat Sam Liccardo exposed how Trump's top contributors and big banks are getting cases against them dropped. This is a bombshell. Thank you for that. E2247 says, let us do this before dinosaurs return. 47, the criminal orders MAGA to kill them all. All right, Michael. Oh, Michael, that's a long one. Let's see what I can do here. This can't be happening, but it is TAF is wrong with a country. This is a horror. CNN, Supreme Court allows Trump to remove migrants to South Sudan and other turmoil-filled countries. The Supreme Court on Monday granted President Donald Trump emergency requests to resume deporting migrants to countries other than their homeland, including places like South Sudan, with minimal notice. The decision is a significant win for the Trump administration, which had argued that a lower court usurped the authority by ordering the Department of Homeland Security to provide written notice to the migrants about where they would be sent, as well as an opportunity to challenge the deportation to grounds that they feared being tortured. The court's three liberal justices, Sonia Sotomayor, Elena Kagan, and Ketanji Brown Jackson, dissented in a fiery opinion. The High Court's order pauses a decision from U.S. District Judge Brian Murphy, which found that the government's effort to deport migrants to third-party countries without due process unquestionably violated constitutional protection. Sotomayor, in a dissent aimed at the administration's broader approach, said her colleagues in the majority were rewarding lawlessness with the decision, asserting that the Trump administration has openly flouted previous court orders rather than allowing our lower court. You guys can read that on your own. But I want you guys to understand the severity of what that means. Let's look at it by American standards now. You know, we are always ready to do something to others. Let's think about this. An illegal alien, and I'm going to use illegal alien because that's what Trump wants to use. An American illegal alien goes to Panama. Okay, they're in Panama. They don't have their papers. They stay there more than 6 months. So now they don't qualify to stay in the country. They have to leave. So they chose not to leave. I mean, they chose to stay there. Now Panama arrests them. Panama doesn't want them in the country. So what Panama does is they deport them to Venezuela. And Venezuela says, okay, I'll take them. Think about what Americans would think. Think about what our American people would think. We would want to invade Panama. If we would want to invade Panama, if we decided unilaterally to deport an American citizen who violated the immigration laws of Panama and send them off to Venezuela, we would hate it. We would raise all kinds of hell about it. But we give ourselves liberty to do all these things. Welcome aboard, Yvette Avery Hera. Thank you for being here. Likewise, let's see. Thank you for being here. I want you guys to understand that, and there are a lot of Americans in Panama that don't spend the time to fix their papers. They just love the country. They live in the mountains. They live in the rainforest. They go to Chiriquí. They go to Baru. They go to Boquete. These are very beautiful parts of Panama in the mountains. And a lot of Americans go there and they just stay there. And they don't have they do it all the time. Suppose we decided in Panama to go ahead and round up all those Americans that are in the hills in Panama, in the mountains in the Cordillera de Tara, and throw them and send them to Venezuela. What do you think would happen? But we are going to send Latinos from Venezuela, because Venezuela may say, no, we're not going to take them. We may send Latinos to Sudan. They always say, oh, they hate us because of our freedom. The rest of the world doesn't hate Americans. The rest of the world do not hate Americans. They hate American policy. Rudin says the severity, anyone can be rounded up and arrested, put into ICE detention facility, no lawyer, no trial, no chance to prove your citizenship, then shipped off to some random country where the likely outcome is torture and death. ICE will start with brown people who speak Spanish, or with a black Latino with an accent that's a U.S. citizen, me. ICE will start with brown people who speak Spanish. But if this isn't stopped, I guarantee you it won't stop there. No, they will also eventually start arresting white dissidents to the Trump administration and just throw them to the gulags. Send them off to Sudan. Again, they always talk about if they're coming for you, they're coming for the rest as well, people. They're coming for the rest as well. They're coming to the rest as well. New GOP from Paul Fleming. GOP lawmakers want to nationalize Medicaid work requirements to offset Trump's proposed tax cuts. Georgia is currently the only state with such mandates. Its experience shows that the federal effort could threaten health care for nearly 16 million. And guess what? It is not working in Georgia. But anyway, I have an important piece that I just did with Anand Giridharadas, from a Morning Joe with Anand Giridharadas yesterday that I think is very important. So I'm going to play that now as I prepare some other stuff on Daily Cost. Here we go. I want you guys to listen to the pushback from author, writer Anand Giridharadas on Morning Joe, speaking to both Jonathan Lemire and Andrea Mitchell. He gave the perfect answers to what is going to be a pushback that we have to do over and over again. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
33 years old, proudly a socialist, has a lot of ideas, very popular. He's very good on social media, really energized his base of supporters, particularly young voters. What are some things that Democrats in other cities that are not deep blue New York, other cities and states, what can they learn from him?
Yeah, Zohran Mamdani's victory, it was stunning, surprising, all these words that everybody is using in headlines this morning. But it was not a miracle, and it was not a black swan weather event. It was the product of very specific strategies and work and choices that are replicable, including in, purple places and places very different from New York City. I think, to start off, one of the most profound choices that he made that is different from where Democrats, you just saw Hakeem Jeffries was sort of very different, is embracing the politics of feeling. Democrats have been suspicious in the era of Trump about running on emotion, running on actually making people feel things and feel moved by a cause, moved by simple ideas. There was an interesting column by Ezra Klein the other day, kind of dismissing some of Ezra's my friend, but dismissing some of Zohran's ideas as mimetic, just sort of designed more to spread and go viral, become memes, ideas like free buses. I think that's a mistake that's very influential when we think about ideas like free buses, universal childcare, simple ideas that can actually be memorable to people, that people want to, call their grandmother and text their ex about because they're excited. I would also say relatedly that this is a strategy. Finally, do you win in an age of Trumpism by diluting your ideas and catering to the mushy middle, fantasizing about some Ohio diner voter who is going to come to you? Or do you win by what is called animating the base to persuade the middle? Anat Osorio is a political strategist who talks about that a lot. Animate the base to persuade the middle. Give your core base something they're so excited about that they can't shut up about it to everyone in their life. And everyone in their life turns out not to be an ideological voter. Those turn out to be lots more normal people who may not be excited about the original form of the idea, but are excited that the people in their life are excited about something. This is a campaign that did that. And third, I would just echo Leader Jeffries. Organizing. The Democratic Party is physically absent from much of this country. It's physically absent from much of blue America, let alone red America. This was a campaign on a small scale in New York City, admittedly, but a campaign that was physically present everywhere, that again gave people a desire to spend their precious time not going on Tinder dates, not spending time with their family, but knocking on doors in extreme heat because they were so excited about something. And when you look at whether it's Andrew Cuomo's campaign, whether you look at so many campaigns Democrats run, if we are honest, these are campaigns that leave people feeling very little, that try to cater to the middle, some imaginary middle, and that frankly are physically absent from our lives. This was a bet on a very different kind of playbook.
Well, one of the things that I would question is whether this goes completely counter to the Democratic narrative that they had to move to the center for 2026, and whether someone with a socialist label can exist outside of New York City. You know, how will other ethnic groups be energized or not energized by some of his past statements? I mean, he's got all of the excitement that the Democrats have been lacking. He showed up. He knew exactly how to hit all of the social media, and Andrew Cuomo didn't. But what's so shocking about it is now going forward, you know, does this actually even help Eric Adams, as discredited as he is, as an independent in a general election?
With all respect, I think that is this kind of fear of a socialist label is 20th century thinking. There are clearly a new generation of Americans who are not afraid of Cold War bunkers, who understand that what he's really talking about is social democracy, as it's called in many other countries, which is basically we can have nice things, and that only rich people shouldn't have nice things. Nice things could actually be for everybody, as is the case in many places in the world. That is basically the idea that is rising here. Young people want it. People of all backgrounds came into this coalition. And I think you're going to see a new New York City. I think you're going to see a New York City that isn't just a place for oligarchs to enjoy their fortunes and buy expensive park cars on Fifth Avenue, but a city where it's great to make it, where you can thrive, where you can pay your bills and therefore afford to dream and create and build and do things, which is what cities are for.
Give us your quick thoughts on just this idea of generational change, perhaps, for Democrats, that the idea of, you know, Mamdani is sort of unknown, but also highly energetic. And maybe it's just time for the party to turn the page on some familiar older faces.
You know, it was such a striking moment over the weekend. You must have seen it when Bill Clinton, former President Bill Clinton, was trotted out to endorse Andrew Cuomo. And it struck me, it was so striking. It was like they were trying to form solidarity among men who have been accused of sexual harassment, as though the future of this country lies in the hands of aging men who have been accused of sexual harassment. And the Mamdani campaign was built on a different bet, I think, in the home stretch, that people want to be able to afford life so they can do stuff, so they can dream, so they can create families. And this idea of an old guard, so scared of change. I would say to the Bill Clintons of the world or the Andrew Cuomos of the world, you have earned your retirement. Enjoy. Let our generation take care of you. Let us tend to you. Let us tend to the next generation of leadership of this country. You don't have to cling.
Once again, as soon as a progressive person wins an election and that progressive person comes out with policies, real policies, distinct policies that most Americans want. In this case, most Americans in New York City are going to want the policies that he spoke about. His overwhelming win already proves that those who went out there to vote understood all there is to know about this guy, Zohran Mandani, and supported what he stood for. Again, this shouldn't be up for debate. When we ask Americans what they want, all the things that they want, universal health care, child care, family leave, all these things are things that they want overwhelmingly, not 50%, way over 50%. But when we get a candidate that comes outrightly and support it, they say, well, he needs to move to the center because those are left-wing ideas. Wait a minute. Humanity is a left-wing idea, but moving to the center, not supporting humanity. What is that? When we talk, I normally talk about that mythical center. Giridharadas talks about that imaginary middle. Same thing. It doesn't really exist. They try to program you into fearing what progressives have to offer. In this case, as a self-defined, a democratic socialist. Oh, it's the end of the world because what's going to happen is, well, I think when Bernie Sanders was the mayor of Burlington, Vermont, I think it's the city he was from, I think people kind of loved it because he brought in policies that really, really supported people. And the same will happen when Mandani becomes mayor of New York. Finally, people are going to see I am not completely strained. I am not completely working simply for those people in Manhattan who have billions and billions of dollars on our backs. When we start to exert our worth and stop being enslaved by those who simply move paper. When we realize and stop believing what the mainstream media tells us about left and right and what the mainstream media tells us about most of the Americans are in the center, most of the Americans are not in the center. You ask the policies that they want, and the policies that they want does not equal what the media is concerned about the center. The tax rate that they want isn't considered center, it is considered left. The social security policy that they want isn't considered center, it is considered left. The Medicare, the health care that they want isn't considered center, it is considered left. But what the media would want you to believe is that it is unattainable, even though the math says that it can. I mean, I remember going to a Netroots about a decade ago with Elizabeth Warren speaking. And Elizabeth Warren from those days was always talking about the progressive values is what Americans say that they want. And we came out with all the polls and we came out with how can we provide progressives with the policies that they want and not only do it correctly, but pay for it without affecting the economy negatively. And we proved that it can be done. And if you doubt it, look at the comeback that the American economy had after the pandemic with the influx of progressive policies into the system. Let's look at the only time the budget was ever balanced in most of our lifetimes. It was using progressive policies somewhat. Not enough as it should, but somewhat. Let's be clear here, folks. We are going to have to take responsibility for not being gullible to what's going to be coming out of the mainstream media. And that's why the independent media right now is going to be so important. Because as people see the disaster that Donald Trump is and look for alternatives, their alternatives cannot be charlatans on the right or charlatan promising a middle that no one ever attains. We're going to have to put within the spine of Americans that, look, don't believe what you're hearing with regards to one's too left or these ideas are too left. These ideas can all be done, be paid for, and it will make for a better society and better living for everyone, including those who are objecting. But what we'll have is a proud people making a living wage, not being enslaved by the 10%, by the 1%, by the 0.1%. Come on, folks. We have got to keep independent media viable so that the onslaught that is about to come. Mandani is a wake-up call to the Powell memo. It is saying that there is a breach in the dam. The Powell memo, those think tanks are going to be working overtime. Get ready for the onslaught. Because if New York breaks that barrier, the biggest city in the United States, what you think is going to happen going down the line? Folks, we have a battle, a humongous battle that is about to get started. And it's going to be the battle of ideas. And we have to win it. And we're not going to win it on TV because that's bought. We're going to win it in independent media. We're going to win it in social media. We're going to win it with emails. We're going to win it with flesh and blood. We're flesh and blood hugging the folks that you're talking to. That's how it's going to be done. And it has to be done. It's not going to be the corporatocracy helping us out. So please remember, independent media. Independent media is the only thing. I want to show you something. This morning, I was in the kitchen fixing my coffee. My wife was in the living room watching the CBS News. My daughter was preparing a little, I don't know what she was preparing. And then they brought up Social Security. And my wife started to listen to it. And she said, look like we're not really going to have Social Security in 10 years by 2030 something, right? That's what she said. And then my daughter immediately said, oh, my generation don't really expect to have any Social Security. And I put a stop to both of them right away. I said, absolutely not. I'm not doing all this work so that my daughter, when it's Social Security time, she won't get her dues from having paid into Social Security. And if I drop dead, to hell with my wife not getting Social Security, etc. It makes no sense. So then she rewound it because I wanted to hear what the different advices were that they gave to improve Social Security. And here is the thing. These are the options that the expert gave on TV. Well, right now the Social Security is 6.2% that the employee pays. The employer pays 6.2% as well. Of course, if you work for yourself, you pay the entire 12.4%. in Social Security taxes. And then she said that is one option. She said the other option is for us to just accept that Social Security will be cut by 30. I think it'll ultimately turn out to be about 22% or so. You'll still get 22. You'll get 75%, about 75% of it. You'll still get paid out. That's the second option, that you get a reduced check from Social Security because it's not going to be going away. And the third option she gave was that, or you can actually, again, it was getting a smaller Social Security check. That's one. Two was increasing the Social Security tax on people, or three, increasing the age, the retirement age. And I sat there and I waited and I waited and I waited, and those are the options she got. And then I looked at my wife and I said, that is the reason you need independent media, because everybody listening to that woman speak, that expert speak, she saw that to save Social Security, which will not be funded after 10 years from now, there will be issues with it, right? There will be issues with it. After 10 years, won't be able to pay 100%. Those are the options she got. And I said, here's the deal. The solution to Social Security is simple. The solution to Medicare is simple. And it's not a big deal. All we have to do is, going forward, make all income taxable, pay the Social Security tax. Right now, only income up to, let me see, what is the highest income taxed for Social Security? Let's see what it is. The highest income tax for Social Security right now is $176,000. After that, all your money is scotch-free. But guess what? The vast majority of income and wealth is above that number by a select few of Americans. So 10% of Americans make way over that, and that amount of money is more than what all the rest of us make. That's how wealthy the wealthy is in this country. So all we have to do, we don't have to increase the retirement age. In fact, we can decrease the retirement age. We don't have to increase the taxes on Social Security. In fact, we can reduce the taxes on Social Security for the average person. We don't have to get a reduced check value because the money is there. It is just being looted. It is just being looted. Okay? The cap, according for 2025, the cap is $176,100 according to my thing here. All right. So again, we are being looted. Just have the wealthy pay their fair share and the Social Security problem goes away. But when you say that Social Security, the max tax on Social Security ends at $176,000, what you're saying is Social Security is only going to be supported by the working class, the poor, and the middle class. the wealthy who benefits from having people who work for them and eventually retire. They don't want to pay on all of their income. If they paid on all their income, we could probably reduce Social Security to 10% or less. But again, when they give you the options on TV, on the mainstream media, I need you guys to understand this. When the mainstream media sets the table, they set the options that the plutocracy gives you. In other words, they're saying we will only work within these parameters. And they don't give you the option to explore other things so that you can see, oh, you mean there are other options? So we have somebody like Mandani comes out, and Mamdani says, wait a minute, we can help the poor and middle class. You know what? You no longer have to have bus fare. We will make that a part of the city. The city will have buses going around, and you get onto the bus to get to your place of employment. That is good for the employer. Guess why? Because no longer is your employee have to worry about, if I got to get on a bus, I don't have the money today, so I got to skip work. Works for everybody. Okay, we have food deserts. Mandani says, I'm going to put if Walmart and these guys refuse to go and put a grocery store in these boroughs, I will have a borough subsidized by we the people in every borough to ensure that all Americans, poor or not, will not live in a food desert. And what is a food desert? A food desert is a place where you can't get good, fresh produce, good, fresh food, good food for you to cook. We are gonna provide solutions. We are going to give you solutions, okay? We are going to give solutions. And again, Michael says, removing the Social Security cap is a good idea, but it's not likely to pass with Republicans' power. To be clear, Republicans are for the ultra-rich, of course, and it's not going to pass either for the neoliberal Democrats. So what we're doing here by primarying Democrats that are not progressive enough is the answer. David Hogg is correct. He couldn't do it as a chairperson within the DNC, but David Hogg primarying Democrats. And by the way, put Hakeem Jeffrey on that list. Put the Senate, Senator Schumer on that list as well. They should be on that list because they're simply not in the working class. Praise to Mandani. Praise be to Mandani coming out and having policies out there that says, yes, we are going to support the working class. And you heard what Giridharadas said, which is so smart. He said the following. He said, don't cater to the middle. Cater to the folks who see the policies you want and are so excited about the policies you want that the folks in the middle are going to say, oh my God, you're right. You are right. And do something. Do something. Get it done. That is what it's all about, folks. That is where we have to go. That is where we must go. I got another 8-minute video here. This one is on Mandani as well. Let's go ahead and play this one, and then we'll take it on the other side. Mandani in New York had a humongous, humiliating for the incumbent victor, not the incumbent, but the establishment victory in New York. And now everybody's questioning, can that message really resonate? Can we take that message all over? I want you to listen to what Anand Giridharadas' response was. And then I want you to listen to the question that the host asked at the end. And I want to answer the question that she asked at the end. Check this out. We'll take it on the other side.
He's offering some great sounding policies, free healthcare or free childcare. I would love free childcare, free buses. Also
you and
great.
Me both, Katie.
Oh, yeah, Ashley. Yeah. Everybody would. Everybody wants things to be cheaper and better. They want their lives to not be a struggle, as you were saying a moment ago. But a lot of these ideas, are they easy to implement? I mean, you already have Governor Kathy Hochul saying she's not going to raise taxes. It's not going to happen. She's worried about people leaving the state. Is he going to be held to actually accomplishing these things that he's promised?
I mean, I think you have to start with what is possible. Katie, you and I are lucky to have traveled around the world, right? How many countries have you been to, Katie, where the things Zohran is proposing to be free are free. How many different places have you been where that is the case? So you and I may have traveled more than the average American. So we know that. We know as an empirical fact that somehow a bunch of countries less affluent than us have managed to make those things free. So I tend to not start political analysis with like, what does Governor Kathy Hochul feel? I tend to start with what is possible, right? Everyone getting their own space shuttle is not possible because I don't see it happening anywhere. But universal childcare and like free buses, I see that happening in enough places that I don't necessarily think are more dynamic or more capable than the United States, that I think, yeah, that's probably doable. That's probably a matter of what we can be led to believe. And if you can go from 0% in the polls, which was Zohran's starting point, to winning the election, winning the primary election, yeah, I think you can get free buses done. It takes political will, it takes mobilizing people, and then it takes showing up on the doorstep of your obstructionists and saying, how about them apples of all these millions of people I have behind me? That's precisely why this kind of movement politics is important, and why, you don't want these figures of the past, whether it's Andrew Cuomo or Bill Clinton, his fellow accused sexual harassers, standing up for each other and trying to prevent change. Young people across this city and across this country are actually finding the courage to believe that they deserve nice things and could have them because they're not stupid, and they see other people having them around the world, and they want to be in on the idea of a nice life.
I hear you on that. And you're right.
That simple radical idea that won last night.
There are other people in other places who enjoy this. I mean, lots of countries in Europe enjoy this. Their taxes are a lot higher and their social safety net is a lot stronger, and they have pensions. So the savings accounts of regular people aren't as big. They have free healthcare. It's all that stuff that goes into enabling a society like that to exist. It's kind of a wholesale rethinking of how we do things.
They also spend less money going to war.
They do spend less money going to war.
You can save a lot. You can save a lot without those beats.
And I agree, but in order to get some of this stuff done, and don't get me wrong, I think everybody would want it, or a lot of people would want it. You're going to have to, these are policies that are difficult to pass in the current configuration for a reason. And actually, if Democrats are looking at what happened here in New York City, how much of it is feasible to take around the country and to use as a message for both the midterms and then for the presidential election?
The question at the end, yes, there's a reason why this hasn't worked in America, why these things haven't been able to put forth while in Scandinavia, while in Europe they've been able to do. And the reason why is simple, because we have been consistently denied access to the real voices of the people. We have been unable to go out there and give the message. We have been unable to cut loose from the corporate mantra, from the Powell memo infiltration in all aspects of our lives. Loosen the chains of the mind, loosen the chains from the corporatocracy, loosen the chains from all these other areas, and watch how we can get to the people and start saying, demand what is yours. Demand it. Because you know what? You know who is scared of you? Those up top. That's why they spend so much to misinform you, because they are scared that if you start to think critically, you ask the question, why is it that a rich country can't afford to take care of its own, while the countries that are not as rich can do such a marvelous job of doing that? Folks, we got to wake up. Let's do it now. Absolutely. So, and Paul Fleming has something. I want you guys to listen to this in detail, because as this big, ugly bill gets passed, one of the things within this big, ugly bill is to penalize foreigners. Foreigners, you come to the United States and you break your leg, or you get hurt, or you get sick. You will go home bankrupted, or you won't get seen if for some reason your insurance falls through. We care so little about humanity. We don't want to give them Mexicans. We don't want to give them Nigerians. We don't want to give those foreigners any support if they come to our country and get sick, right? We don't want to do that. We don't want to do that. Well, listen to Brother Paul Fleming's story. My brother and I, along with our wives and girlfriends, went on vacation to Paris, France. My brother's girlfriend fell down the stairs and broke her leg. Amber took her to the hospital, treated her. The ambulance took her to the hospital, treated her, and it did not cost a thing. And she is not a French citizen. Every country that I've been to, you pay a nominal fee to access their healthcare system. If you have to access their healthcare system, you don't go bankrupt. You are taken care of because you know why? You're a human being and humanity reigns over capitalism. So even as these countries are partially capitalist, they're sufficiently free enterprisers. They're sufficiently social that you don't die if you get hurt in these places. But we, the richest country in the world, if you come over here, they don't give a damn about you. And you know what? It's so sad about all of that. They forget a few concepts. They forget that many diseases are communicable and it doesn't care about borders. It doesn't care about whether you have insurance or not. If you are infected, you just get it. One of the reasons you want to have everybody within a healthcare system that is in your locale is that if there are any kind of communicable diseases that can spread, that it can get knocked out because you're willing to go to the healthcare and get it knocked out. But if you are in our system, of course, where healthcare can cause you to go bankrupt, then you don't do that. You don't do that. They come here and spend money. Exactly. Grace T, welcome aboard. So, I mean, we have to stop allowing our inhumanity to grow exponentially as it is right now. You listen to those arguments and those discussions for this bill that's being get passed, and you can't help but feel sick. Folks, this is why we need independent media. And by independent media, I don't mean just folks coming from folks that got fired from the mainstream media and decided to come on to Substack or these other platforms and suddenly bring in NBC or CBS or Fox News or NPR, bringing that to Substack. We need independent media that has not been trained by the corporatocracy to be fearful in the things that you talk about. And that's why I enjoyed having this conversation that I'm going to play right now with our brother, Tom Hartmann. I mean, he gave me some kudos, and of course, I really appreciate that. So let me go ahead and play that. That is what true independent media is all about, but it is also a good tool for a party that is poor at getting a message out to leverage. What I see is a lack of leveraging tools like yours to get that out.
What I see is a lack of understanding of how the media works and how communication works. And, you're one of the people who really gets it. And it's one of the reasons that you and I have been close for many years and why I've been such an advocate for your program. And whenever any, station or network or whatever says, anybody who's any good, I always put you at the top of that list. But sadly, learn when I visit some of my affiliate stations and listen to the programming that they're putting on is that an awful lot of it is unlistenable, that people just don't understand the basic rules of podcasting or of broadcasting. They don't understand that you have to belt the show out. They don't understand that you have to modulate your voice. They don't understand that you've got to be sure to not just do complaint radio and just recycle the news every day. You've got to actually, go to the bigger picture. You've got to help people understand why this is important, things in the context of what individuals can do. Rachel Maddow, when she and I were both on Air America back in the day, I think we were the two who were doing this. We were the two who were digging deep into topics, really exploring them in some depth, trying to do these bigger. And she continues to do that on MSNBC, and I continue to do that on my program. And it just always blows my mind when people sit around going, "Why is Rachel so successful?" And then you turn on, MSNBC, and what do you get? You get a former Republican spokesperson who says, let's talk about what everybody else is talking about and let's do it with three people who are pundits.
Right.
And let's have an inside baseball conversation. And really, good communication, good radio, good podcasting always is one person to one person. I'm never talking. I mean, Talkers Magazine says I have an audience of 6 million people. I'm never talking to 6 million. I'm always to one person.
Exactly.
One person at a time. There's only one person on the other side of that camera. I think I just went through 3 or 4 of the kind of basic rules of broadcasting, which you know so well. Mm-hmm. Most of our peers tragically don't. So I've written in the past about how to do good podcasts and how to do good broadcasting, but it never seemed to stick for anybody. Complaint radio just, burns people out. Host driven. It's the single most powerful, that people build a relationship with the host. And the host is mostly talking to the people. I'll have maybe 5 guests a week, out of 15 hours of programming. And none of them are on there for more than, 15 minutes, which is not to trash talk having guests. And I'm honored to be your guest right now. Yeah. But the point is that you can carry a show. I know you can do that because you do it regularly. You can pick up the stories and give meaning to them and connect with your listener. But most people don't. And it doesn't occur to them that that's what they need to be doing, that they need to be building a personality and a relationship with their listeners.
I actually think, Tom, one of the reasons why is they have the wrong mentors. I watch a hell of a lot of your programming, and I watch how it actually hit people. I don't know if you remember the coffee party days when we brought you to DC to do some of all these things. And, it was always watching how you were able to bring the subject at hand. And I think you nailed it. You have to have that one-to-one communication. And with my much smaller audience, that is the one thing that keeps me doing as we try to grow. In as much as you have 1,000 people, you're talking to that one person. That's and right. You have a relationship with these people. And these people expect to see you every time at that time. And you make sure that you're there for them. That is what true independent media is all about. But it is also a good tool for a party that is poor at getting a message out to leverage So again, independent media is where it is at. And again, I appreciate that Tom gave me some kudos there. But here's the thing, folks. Again, it's not going to be the talking heads per se that are actually gonna make the change. And he's right. It's not about complain radio. Complain. That's not gonna do it. It's about action. It's about how we went ahead and mobilized here in Kingwood, where we expected 50 people to show up, and instead almost 700 people showed up. When you see, we have folks that go out to city council and make sure that they change the policy for housing. When the mayor decided that he was going to spend zero on housing here in Houston, and the masses went out, we mobilized the masses to make sure that the mayor had to renege and put money into housing. When we talk about the King's Day, the No King's Day around the entire country, we actually collectively mobilize. What we're talking about now, having to mobilize with what's going on in Washington today, tomorrow, and the day after, to tell you not to just complain about how bad the bill is, to tell you you can still do something about it. There's going to be a bill more than likely, but you can make sure that a lot of the worst in the bill doesn't get put out, and give us some time to fix the bill in 2026. We can make sure that as the media starts to attack Mandani, and I can tell you, it's not going to be just coming from the right wing. It's going to be coming from the left, from the center as well. That we are going to be in there, making our voices heard, not sitting back and complaining and saying, oh my God, look at what they done to us. We have to be a part of what's happening. And that is my goal as well with this program, folks. Every single day of the week, every single weekend, this is where it cannot stop, because those animals in Washington, and I call them animals in Washington because they're killing us, they're savaging us. We have to keep the pressure on them. And we can, but we have to all do it, collectively do it. We have to disregard the voices of the sycophants. And notice I didn't say argue with them. I didn't say to do any of that. I said we have to disregard them. They are immaterial. Whatever good we do will help all. The sycophants are just there spewing BS. Ignore that crap. Let's work on the things we can change. Call your congressman, congressperson. Call your senator. Call your news media. All of it. I'm on every morning at 6 a.m. on FM radio. It's different than just solely internet because we're reaching many of the people that are still listening to radios right now are the ones who need the change the most, because a lot of those folks are the ones that are still glory, glory, hallelujah, believing in the right-wing mantra. Call in and tell your stories. My show comes on every morning at 6 a.m. Central. And you can call into that show and be on air and let other people hear your stories. By the way, do you have a story? Email me your story. We'll mobilize your story. Are you not scared of being on video? Let's do a video, a quick video storytelling if you want to. But we have to be the ones out there to prevent these things from happening. And if by chance some of it still go through, it doesn't end there. We continue the fight. We continue doing the work. And you're correct. This is what's known as end stage capitalism. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Michael says any political policy that results in excess debts in the thousands is most definitely an evil that needs to be overturned. Fairness and harm reduction is something most people can agree on, excluding fractional minority of red-hatted partisans who are completely hierarchical thinkers, or I don't even consider them thinkers, neither critical or otherwise. Anyway, I got to get out of here. But before I get out of here, I have to give my ask. So I'm asking you, you heard what Tom said about independent media. And also you heard that he gave our program some kudos as well. So what I want to ask all of you is if you have the wherewithal, please become a paid subscriber today. We are short about 500, and I think I got a couple more today already. We are short about 568 paid subscribers. So if you're so kind to become a paid subscriber of our program, it's like getting us a coffee. It is inexpensive, but it makes a big difference if many of you do it. And right now we need 570. We're growing slowly, but we need 570. So please consider becoming a paid subscriber of our network now. And remember, it's not just on Facebook. It's not just on Twitter. We are everywhere, and we make sure and we put the information out everywhere. And the link to do that is at politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. I'm putting that in every single one of our chats. Please consider becoming a paid subscriber. You will help us get the message out. It's 4:00 and I got to get out of here. My name is First of all, love you all. Absolutely so. I want to thank all of you. You guys are great. You can email me directly at info@politicsdoneright.com. That is info@politicsdoneright.com. I answer all of my emails, no doubt. But anyhow, my name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this, baby. I am what? Out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.